Free practice 1 and 2 were both completed on Friday in Bahrain, ahead of the Bahrain Grand Prix qualifying that we're going to see tomorrow, and of course the big Grand Prix on Sunday. But there's a lot that we could have learned from this session, in particular free practice 2. But what were the 5 things that we learned? That's why I'm here, guys, here on the channel as always. Let's dive in with the 5 main highlights of free practice 1 and 2 from Sakhir. So the first thing that we learned is that we were going to see a lot of rookies, a lot of inexperienced Formula 1 drivers taking part in this session. Of course, there's a few reasons for this. FP1 is very unrepresentative compared to qualifying in the race because it is held in the daytime, whereas qualifying and the race are both held at nighttime. We also saw, as well on top of that, pre-season testing at Bahrain, so a lot of the drivers have plenty of experience around this track in the current Formula 1 cars. So 6 of the 10 teams took this opportunity to run a free practice drive, as something they have to do, I believe, at least twice throughout the Grand Prix season. These were Ryo Harikawa for Haas. Interestingly, he ran in the the Alpine Renault, I should say, in Japan, so seeing him in a second different car in 2 weeks. Felipe Drugovich was given a run out at Aston Martin. Luke Browning was given a run out at Williams. Interestingly, he was the fastest of these guys. I think he ended up P13 overall in FP1. Frederick Vesti was given a chance in the Mercedes, Dino Beganovic in the Ferrari, and lastly, Ayumu Iwasa as well at Red Bull, replacing Max Verstappen for this session. Yuki Tsunoda needed plenty of experience really in that Red Bull car. He's very new to that team, of course. But yeah, the second thing, we need to talk about Yuki Tsunoda a little bit more, because he had quite an interesting day in FP1. I mean, I think he was like down in 12th, 13th, not looking too great, if I'm being honest, but at least he had no crashes or any major incidents in FP1. And what I mean by that is, of course, the fact that he almost slammed straight into the back of Alex Albon. Not Yuki Tsunoda's fault by any means, but of course that was very nearly nasty incident in the pit lane. I think that Williams just released him at the wrong time, really. And he actually just missed his pit box as well. It happens quite a bit, but of course he is used to running for the Racing Bulls rather than Red Bull Racing. Red Bull being much closer, I believe, to the start of the pit lane than what Racing Bulls are around this weekend. So he just drove straight past and just had to do another lap and come back in, basically, because you can't reverse in the pit lane for very good reason. McLaren, though, they are looking like the best team, and we've said this every single race so far, including Japan, where they did not win, of course, but they are looking really good this time around. Lando Norris, the fastest of all in free practice 1, and then FP2, which is the much more representative session, of course, it was a 1-2, this time heading Norris. So it's looking good for McLaren at this stage. It's still a long way to go, of course. Second fastest, though, the closest to them, I would say, are probably Mercedes, going off the results in free practice 2. George Russell was in P3, while Kimi Antonelli was in P5. So looking pretty solid between those guys. In between them, I believe it was Charles Leclerc in P4. Max Verstappen not really close to the front. But then again, we were saying the same thing this time last week as well in Japan. So a lot can change, of course. And the last thing I'm going to talk about, Fernando Alonso. I mean, Aston Martin having an absolute stinker of a day in general, to be honest with you. P15 for him. It was P19 for Lance Stroll, his teammate, as well. But yeah, his steering wheel, I don't know if he had a problem where he needs to replace the steering wheel because it was coming off. He said the steering wheel was switching off, and while he was driving along, he actually pulled the steering wheel out of its socket, which I know he's the most experienced driver in the history of Formula 1, but I feel like he wouldn't do that unless he had to, for whatever reason. So yeah, just popping the steering wheel. I think he got whatever problem was actually caused by that. You know, he resolved it eventually. But yeah, Aston Martin not looking good. They're not looking good this weekend at all, but we'll see what happens throughout this one. But yeah, those are the 5 main talking points from Friday free practice around Bahrain. Which were the main standouts for you? Let us know in the comments below, guys, and have a fantastic weekend. Let's hope for a great race around Bahrain this weekend. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to react to the Grand Prix until Monday. I'm away over this weekend, but I will be here tomorrow to cover qualifying in my usual 5 things review style for you guys. Have a fantastic day. Like I said, have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon for more action on the channel. Plenty of content coming up in the meantime as well, so stay tuned for that.